Hello everyone, unleash your and endgame right here for day 2 of Pro Tour out of Devastation. It is of course Rich Hagan, Maria Bartholdi and Paul Cheon here at the news desk welcoming you to day 2. If you weren't here yesterday, what were you doing on your Friday or Thursday or Saturday or whenever it was you could have been watching us live on day 1? We are here live with day 2. We're getting ready for draft action once again. Maria, awesome day 1. What's your takeaway?
Well, there was a lot of red in the feature match area for standard, Rich, but for draft, there were a lot more colors. And I really want to see another deck drafted like Sam Black's 4-color Hour of Promise masterpiece.
Yeah, it was like how many Manolith were in that? Was in that?
2 or 3?
Just the 2 or 3.
You know,
Paul, how about you? How was your day 1?
Day 1 was very interesting. You know, I was kind of trying to figure out what we would see kind of rise to the top outside of the mono red decks, and it was mostly just the mono red decks. We have both of our undefeated players playing, the Raminap red deck. One thing that I noticed is a very distinct lack of control decks being played, or if they were played, they were at the bottom tables, because I think control currently, as hard as it is for me to say, I don't think it's well positioned in standard right now.
Okay, well, of course, the team series is coming to a head. We've only got 2 days of the season left. Out on the floor is Brian David Marshall, who's been running the numbers overnight. BDM, over to you.
Thanks, Rich. I'm here on the floor. Players are getting seated for the first draft here on day 2. And what's going to end up happening is the team series is really going to come down to Pro Tour top 8s. And, you look at the top teams. Team Musashi, which has a pretty commanding lead and is in great shape, they don't have a lot of players doing super well today. Toria Kukamai is 6-2, but they have 3 players who are actually not playing today on the team, so maybe that window is open a little bit. But if you look at the top teams, Genesis in 2nd place, Seth Manfield is 8-0. And that could put them, very securely into that final spot. Team MTG Mint Card just 6 points behind them in the standings. Nam Sung Wook is 6-1-1. So watch Seth and Nam jockey back and forth throughout today in terms of if one of them gets top 8 and one of them doesn't. That could be the difference. Lingering Souls, Donald Smith, 7-1. Team Puzzle Quest, they have 2 players on 6-2. Also worth noting for Lingering Souls and MTG Mint Card, getting to the top 4 does mean invites for some of the players who are not qualified. I talked to the MTG Mint Card guys last night, and they were saying that Nam Sung Wook, who got qualified for this Pro Tour from their finish at the last Pro Tour, took the whole team out to dinner and was very emotional about their passion for getting him back to the Pro Tour. So we'll see how that goes. Sending it back to you guys at the news desk.
BDM. Well, Paul, you were in the booth all yesterday morning for draft. What are your takeaways on the format?
Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday, but limited just seems way more wide open, right? Again, triple Amonkhet, all you wanted to do was attack, cartouches, slither blades, just everybody looking to play all their 1 and 2 drops. But now you got a lot less of that, and you have a lot more colors, as you touched on. Oasis Ritualist, Manolith. There's a lot of very powerful Aftermath cards that you can only really play if you can kind of go all the colors. So it's really interesting to see. One deck that I am kind of wanting to see, and a lot of players that I've talked to are really high on, is the Blue-Red Spells deck. We haven't really kind of seen any of that in the feature match areas yet. And, I talked to Marshall Sutcliffe, for example, and he said, this is one of the most powerful archetypes. I have a strong preference to be in these colors. So I really want to see if somebody, actually ends up drafting this deck.
How do you feel Bounce got in this format? It was already pretty good, but now we have Eternalize running around. How high do you prioritize something like an Unsummon?
I think it's actually possible that Unsummon might be the best blue common. Again, the fact that you can have a 1-mana spell that counteracts cartouches is really nice. Again, the Blue-Red Spells deck is also kind of more of a tempo-based deck now, not actually kind of a control deck. So Unsummon is fantastic in that deck as well. And as you mentioned, Embalm, Eternalize, Unsummon, just being able to go boop. Sorry, all that mana you spent on your token, gone.
Great stuff. Now the players are getting seated for draft, so why don't we walk you through our feature pod here on day number 2. It is pod number 1, and I can't remember this ever happening before at the Pro Tour. There are 3 players in their very first Pro Tour on the top table, and they are all in a line. Shintaro Kurata went 13-2 at Grand Prix Kobe to play in his first PT here. Yusuke Sasaki, also from Japan, 4th at Grand Prix Shizuoka to make his first Pro Tour here. And Louis Bachot, one of the up-and-coming French players, his debut on the Saturday stage and at the Pro Tour. But then look at the murderer's row as we head round the field. Sam Black over $200,000 in earnings. Seth Manfield has the highest win percentage of anyone in this field at the Pro Tour level. Shota Takao has 4 Grand Prix top 8s. Donald Smith, well, he was 3rd at Pro Tour Ether Revolt and needs 10 and 6 to be platinum. Just 3 more wins today will take him to the top tier of the game and very likely a World Championship slot. And then the monster in the room, Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa, 11 Pro Tour top 8s. He will be Latin America's representative at the World Championship. Over $400,000 in career earnings, and well on track, guys, for another top 8. Just extraordinary stuff. So that's what's going on in the top table. So of course they are at the top of the standings, but why don't we take a look at the overall scoreboard for you as we set into day number 2. There it is on the left of your screen, 1 to 8. That is the top draft table, but then snapping at their heels, Severson, Jansen, Calcano, Pardy, Yan Wing Chun, Elias Watsfeld, Thiago Saporito, they round out your 7 and 1s. In the feature match area, our top table is ready to go. Where does the hour of devastation fall? It begins right now. Off we go.
Hello there, welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe, early in the morning, ready to draft with Luis Scott Vargas. We don't actually get to draft together, but we get to watch some drafters here. We're going to be watching Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa draft here at the live table, and then we're also going to be recording Seth Manfield for later viewing at the wall. The players are ready, they're seated, and they're probably a little antsy. Why don't we let them draft? Let's head down for the second draft of Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we're ready for the second booster draft of our tournament here. This, of course, will be the final booster draft as well. And we've got our pod number 1. So these are the players with the best records coming in. And in fact, we're going to be watching one of the players with the best record in the tournament. That's right, undefeated overnight, Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa from Team Channel Fireball Ice. He looks happy with himself there, and why not? He has had a fantastic day 1 and really just needs to kind of hold it together here in the draft to keep his run going. And here we go. We're already into the pack. Let's see what he's got, Luis. He's looking through. I saw Torment of Venoms, Overwhelming Splendor if he wants to go deep. And then there's one of the premium commons with Oketra's Avenger, as well as a good uncommon with Vizier of the True. What do you like here, Luis?
Oketra's Avenger and Torment of Venom are cards that stand out to me. Vizier of the True is good. It is, I think, largely a little more powerful than Oketra's Avenger, but if you want to draft an aggressive white deck, which is where both those cards lead, you're going to be shorter on 2 drops than you are good 4 drops. So I'd say the Avenger's a little less replaceable. It's possible Paulo thinks that the Vizier is just that much more powerful, but
he's going to go in kind of the middle route here, take the Torment of Venom. You don't like taking Overwhelming Splendor and trying to wield the Manolith there?
No, I think
Too ambitious?
I think Overwhelming Splendor is an actual good ramp payoff. I have been impressed with the card, but you don't need to first pick a card quite that extreme.
Right. All right, this pack's not super strong, but there was a Dauntless Aven in the pack there. I see Spellweaver Eternal and Riddle Form pulled to the front here for Paulo.
Riddle Form, usually a lot more powerful in red-blue, but it's possible that a blue-black kind of prowess type deck could utilize it. Spellweaver Eternal is a little safer, but less extreme.
That's right.
It's good in decks without even a ton of spells, but less good than Riddle Form in a deck that has very spell heavy.
And he is going to actually take the Riddle Form here. Now, you know, the key thing with Riddle Form here is that it does tend to be much better at attacking than blocking, since you can play something to maybe develop your board or anything sorcery speed and then get in for 3, and it can be very powerful in that circumstance. It's a little trickier to set it up as a blocker, so Paulo probably trying to be aggressive, and wow, he's got a nice pack here for his colors. Yeah,
this is interesting. There's Vizier of the Anointed and Supreme Will. I like Vizier in blue-black. There's a decent amount of ways to utilize it, but Supreme Will is also very good in a spell-based deck.
There's also an Oketra's Avenger.
Yeah,
in this pack
Paulo has to be kind of feeling like if he had just gone Avenger, Dauntless Haven Avenger, I think he would be happy with this start.
Yeah, but he is going to stick to blue here, and he picks up a Supreme Will, which is a super solid pickup after the Riddle form as well. They kind of work very well together. You can play it on turn 2. Go ahead and just fire off Supreme Will or leave it up. Strategic Planning, let's see. Dutiful Servants. Cursed Horde back there, maybe?
Cursed Horde is a nice one. It's also a Lethal Sting. Lethal Sting,
yes.
a little less potent in blue-black just because you're not going to have as many good early places to put that -1/-1 counter. Of course, a Cursed Horde, not the strongest in blue-black either. So Strategic Planning is the safest pick, and what Paulo's doing right now, and he can't be super happy about this. He is
Didn't look like it
drafting
based on that gesture, did he?
a blue spell-based deck, but he keeps taking lower-powered cards. So he's hoping that his synergy payoffs will make it worth it. So far,
Oops.
hasn't seemed like he's super happy with that. Though Merciless Eternal's not bad.
I like that Firebrand Archer there, Luis.
What Firebrand Archer does here is it goes so much better with the Riddle form and the fact that he just took 3 spells in a row.
That's right. And, you know, this blue-red deck, it's been a favorite of mine. I heard Sam Black yesterday say on camera that he thought it was one of the better archetypes in the format, too. And
he's not unique in that opinion.
Right. This isn't controversial here. So it's not. I'm not surprised to see Paulo veer a little bit here and take a Firebrand Archer. Let's see what he finds out of this pack. Oof, not a lot.
No, Chandra's Defeat is a very potent sideboard card, though. So I actually am a fan of taking these cards fairly early.
He won't be starting that in his main deck. Oh, there's a Merciless Eternal there, too, though, kind of tempting him back towards black a little bit. Still, I think he's made his decision, and he's hoping to be in blue-red. I'd call it tempo. I mean, there's a lot of spells involved, but it plays out more like a tempo deck than anything else, and wow.
Well,
Lure of Blades.
That's a nice pick.
Last bastion here for him. Yeah, he really didn't look like this pack had a lot for him, but Blur of Blades goes nicely in the deck. But I think Paulo's starting to get the hint that green is open. We saw a Desert of the Indomitable last pick as well that felt a little bit late, and there was also an Oasis Ritualist floating around in the earlier picks too. So Paulo kind of looked at it like, oh wow, green is wide open here. Oasis Ritualist and a Rampaging Hippo here, Luis. Is it time for him to move? He could just take Manticore Eternal. It would go in the deck, and it's a solid card, but the signals are telling him very strongly that green's open here.
I like pivoting. I think Paulo did stick to his guns maybe a pick or two longer than he should have in terms of like what the payoffs are going to be, but he's also not committed at this point. So by picking up that Oasis Ritualist, he's opening the door to potentially playing green. So right now he's got Lurching Rot Beast and Torment of Venom in black. He's got Oasis Ritualist in green, Riddle Form, Supreme Will, Strategic Planning in blue.
Yep.
That second Ritualist at this point has to be the pickup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this card is very, very powerful, and it goes really well in the green multicolored deck that we've seen. For example, Sam Black was playing yesterday. It's green based, and it plays, well, kind of all the colors.
So not taking the Manolith.
Wow, I'm surprised he didn't take the Manolith there, Luis.
Taking Crash Through kind of reveals that he's considering just drafting this blue-red deck still.
Yeah, he really is kind of hedging back in that direction. So kind of interesting. Paulo very much not settled into where he's going to be drafting yet, as he took those 2 Oasis Ritualists. What was the last card there?
Life Goes On.
All right, well, we did see one of those cast yesterday.
So Paulo has essentially one good blue card, Riddle Form, with Strategic Planning and Supreme Will being fine, but not, cards you're very excited about. So he hasn't. The only signal I think that he's gotten strongly is that green is open, and where he goes from here, I mean, this is the bad kind of open. This is I have 3 blue cards, 2 black cards, like 3 good red cards and 2 good green cards.
Yeah, this is the opposite of what we talk about. Where you want to be. Normally, you want to be heavy in one color with some kind of feelers in a couple of other colors, and that way, when you go to the next pack, you can really have the options open. And Paulo's the opposite, like you said. He's actually spread out pretty evenly among 3 or 4 colors, and he really does need to settle things down and get into a 2-color pair pretty early into pack 2, or he could risk being low on playables.
Yeah, and despite having 4 red cards pulled out there, or 5 red cards, he really only has 2. He has Firebrand Archer and Blur of Blades in terms of appealing red cards. So
right. Yeah, even Granitic Titan's not super attractive, and Paulo's got his work cut out for him here in this next pack. He really does need to dial in on what archetype he's going for, because these don't mix particularly well.
No, he's got cards like Riddle Form and Firebrand Archer, which, yeah, you don't want those near Oasis Ritualist deck.
Exactly. One of the benefits of being base green is that you can often just play your most powerful speculative cards, but those ones don't really fit the theme. There's an Open Fire and an Ominous Sphinx, and there was an Apocalypse Demon back at the back of the pack for his rare. But those two blue and red cards, the blue and red card at the front, seem to be the most appealing here.
Yeah, this is a critical pick. Paulo's just not in a position where he can really waste picks, and he whatever card he takes here is going to put him strongly into this color. He's just going to be so hard for him to back off of this. So he's going to take Open Fire or Sphinx. I think that Sphinx is slightly higher payoff. Open Fire maybe slightly more likely to make his deck, but once he takes this card, I think that it's going to be hard for him to get off this color.
Yeah, if he takes the Sphinx here, this does actually leave him the option of being blue and green still, if he feels that green is still wide open, where the Open Fire really does kind of move you in a more specific direction. So that was actually the more... Ooh, right. Sifter Worm and Sand Strangler. Hello. Oh. Wow, this is a really, really tough pick, because Sand Strangler's, yeah, fantastic, but with no deserts, and he seems to be veering a little bit away from red, perhaps after having passed that Open Fire.
I think he's going to take the Sand Strangler.
I think so, too. Gosh, this is a tough pick, because that Sifter Worm goes really well with the two Oasis Ritualists, and it does show you that green's possibly open coming from both directions here.
Paulo knows that this is the pick his draft hinges on.
Yeah.
All right, so Paulo, I think, is blue-red at this point. It would be very hard for him to move off it just because he's already used up a lot of picks in other directions.
Man, I wish he probably wants that Open Fire now. I mean, Ominous Sphinx is still really good, but, well, this gets kind of interesting. So the best card, for his deck is Aerial Guide, but he's also opened Hazaret's Undying Fury, which I've heard some people are actually willing to put in their deck.
Yeah, depending on who you talk to, Hazaret's Undying Fury has gotten decent ratings. I know Michael Jacob noted a Twitch stream where he actually plays tons of Sealed, and he says Hazaret's Undying Fury is a bomb, and he plays a lot. So I do have I give him some credibility there. And I know that the Team Channel Fireball Fire rating of Hazaret's Undying Fury was well above playable. Like, they actually think the card is solid.
Well, it looks like Team Channel Fireball Ice disagrees, as he took the Aerial Guide, the much more safe pick.
Well, this works out nicely.
Ooh,
second Riddle Form, but there's also a Desert of the Fervent.
Yeah, he really needs that desert, boy. Sand Strangler without sand right now, and he's just going to take the Riddle Form. Maybe he's okay with just not playing the Sand Strangler, because you look, the chances that he gets good deserts after this pack of Our Devastation go down a lot. That may have been his last chance for a desert.
Ooh, Struggle to Survive is a great pick.
Oof.
So
in this case, probably just Struggle. He could cut that one in half, and he's probably never going to cast Survive, but Struggle's fantastic.
Sand Strangler is also worth a little bit of mana inconsistency. If you have to play a Sunscorched Desert or a Cradle of the Accursed, it really is not the end of the world.
Yeah, if he's going to be straight up two colors, he may be able to get rid of it, or make that work. Man, so many Desert of the Indomitable floating around this table. He's going to have to settle for a Frontline Devastator, which is actually a fine card.
Works well with the Aerial Guide.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible Apollo takes Desert of the Indomitable as a enter the battlefield tapped colorless land, but that's pretty weak.
Yeah, he can likely get a better version of that later if he wants it. Well, there you go. Desert of the Fervent.
Yeah, this is going to be Desert by, I think, a wide margin.
Yeah, this is a sigh of relief pick here from Paulo. He would like a few more of these, but he'll be happy to have picked up even just the one.
If he can get away with one Desert of the Fervent and one of the Amonkhet Deserts, I think he'll be in okay shape.
Yeah. There's another Blur of Blades, but if he wants to... Oh, Unsummon. Hello.
Yeah, that's a nice pickup. Blur of Blades is great. Once you already have one, it goes down in value a little bit, and Unsummon is nice, especially with double Riddle form.
Yeah, that has to be one of the best possible cards he could see there.
This pack has gone quite well for Paulo. I think that he's got to be happy with the place he landed.
Gilded Ceradon's fine. You could also take the Striped Riverwinder if you wanted it. The Gilded Ceradon has impressed me, but you do need enough deserts to make it go. Wow, Rampaging Hippo still in the pack. But I think we've got a crash through deck here for Paulo.
When you have double Riddle form, crash through becomes a lot more interesting.
Yeah, also he's probably needs a few slots to fill as well. Crash through is pretty low impact for that. Well, there's the Hazoret's Undying Fury. Looks like this table rates it about the same that I do. And Paulo's not even going to bother. Seer of the Last Tomorrow, and this is going to be the last few picks. So how are we feeling now? He has definitely settled down into 2 colors.
This pack went well enough that I think Paulo should be happy. Like, given where his pack started, where this ended, I don't know what his little exact playable count is, but I think that he is in an archetype that's open, and his card quality is high. Like, if you look at this pack, Ominous Sphinx, Sand Strangler, Struggle to Survive, Riddle Form, Unsummon are all great pickups.
His creature curve leaves a lot to be desired at this moment.
Well, yes, except that decks like this tend to always have like a slightly messy curve just because they have a lot of non-creature spells. And having double Riddle Form Firebrand Archer means he's going to have a decent job of closing out the game. He could go for another removal spell. He's got Struggle to Survive and Unsummon as his, and plus 1 Blur of Blades as his interactive spells. And he definitely needs more deserts. He would like to pick up 2 deserts if he can.
Right.
Like 2 more to have 3 total.
Yeah, he didn't get any like Kenra Scrappers or any of those type of, good, but not necessarily first picked style creatures. His 2 drops are just those 3 cards that you named, the 2 Riddle Forms and the Firebrand Archer.
Yeah, I think Paul's going to be fine on playables. Looks like he's around
Aerial
15
Guide.
or 16 there. And but what he's looking for is 1 or 2 more threats and 1 or 2 more interactive spells plus just some normal filler. Riddle Form is a powerful spell. Like this card does clock the opponent very quickly. Especially when it has Trample.
Trample? Oh, right. Yeah, it looks like there's a good chance that it has Trample in Paulo Vitor's deck.
Plus, if Paulo can pick up like Sunscorched Desert, then strategic planning it into the graveyard so he never has to draw it. It's perfect.
That is the best option for it. All right, 1 more pack to go. We're switching, of course, into Amonkhet now.
Paulo, just don't get greedy. Just hope for a Magma Spray.
No, Enigma Drake.
Well, there's the Sunscorched Desert and
Wow.
no other playables.
Wow. Okay. There's a Nimbleblade Kenra and also a Thresher Lizard. I would assume he would take the Thresher Lizard here.
Yeah, and I think Wield, the Sunscorched Desert, or the Nimbleblade Kenra, either of those is reasonable.
Yeah. Real bummer of a pack here, though, for Paulo. Picking up a playable creature is fine, but neither of these are particularly good.
Nope, can't be excited about this.
So he gets a Thresher Lizard and says, well, at least I got a playable, I guess. Wow.
Well, Harsh Mentor is a 2-drop, as is Talkrop Skirmisher. Winds of Rebuke, not bad in this deck either.
Yeah, I would assume that Harsh Mentor is the pick here. He would like a few more 2-drops. And Harsh Mentor is pretty good. He is actually considering the Talkrop Skirmisher pretty strongly here, though, Luis.
Getting an extra body out of the deal is good. And the Harsh Mentor is a 2-2 with a little bit of upside compared to just a 2-1.
Well, he wants to Talkrop Skirmisher there.
All right, it's a close pick.
Yeah.
I think I would have taken the Harsh Mentor, but not by a lot.
Same.
Wow.
Wow. Well, Now he has to pick between Sun-Scorched Desert or Tawcrop Skirmisher. Wow, this pack has been incredibly unexciting for Paulo. He's had a pretty tough seat. A lot of signals kind of throwing him off in the first pack, and then second pack was, you know, solid for him, and now he's picking up some kind of curve consideration style picks, but none of them are particularly powerful.
Oh yeah, Paulo's taking cards he wishes he could take 7th, you know,
Right.
1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So I think Paulo's in a bit of trouble here. Like these are some of the picks that you hope to be payoffs. That is not happening.
Ooh, how about a Warfire Javelin here?
That is nice. That offers a ray of hope here.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that he was really hoping to see out of this pack. You know, we talked about those crash throughs a while ago, the type of card that works really well with Warfire Javelineer. Also, the type of cards that work well with Riddle Form also work well with Warfire Javelineer, so it's just a perfect card for his deck. So he'll be very happy to have picked that up here, especially after the way the first 3 picks went.
It also gives Paulo hope that he could get a 6-pick Enigma Drake. That is not an unreasonable thing to have.
Yay, an Enigma Drake.
Or a 5th-pick one.
Yeah, that does happen a lot more often than you'd think, just because, you know, it's unlikely that another player at the table is specifically in blue-red, and people aren't splashing for Enigma Drake. So if there are Enigma Drakes opened at the table, it's very likely that Paulo will get them. And he'll be taking this one here.
Oh, for sure. Now I wonder if he regrets not taking Winds of Rebuke over Tawcrop Skirmisher or Harsh Mentor.
Okay, there's an Emberhorn Minotaur in there somewhere. Oh, and he
Also
has
a Cradle
pulled,
to the Curse.
yeah.
Consuming Fervor, huh? Put it on your Tawcrop Skirmishers.
I suppose. Doesn't work so well in Riddle Form. All right, yeah, he just ended up going with the Minotaur, which again is a solid pickup. You know, when you play this blue-red deck, you start to think in terms of kind of chunks of damage. Ooh, Electrify.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good pickup for Paulo. And, you know, Emberhorn Minotaur is good for one nice big chunk of damage per game. And then you can start sort of chipping away.
So I think, given the way these packs have been, Paulo actually just got unlucky the first 3 packs. Like, obviously, his first pick...
The first 3 picks?
Yeah, it is just bad luck that he didn't open anything particularly good. The next 2, it's not that the people to his right were taking cards he wanted. I mean, he got the late Warfire Drake, or Warfire Javeliner and the Drake, and then the Electrify. It's more that just those cards weren't opened.
No, he found himself a Painted Bluffs now.
Yeah, I think it's hard to resist taking a second Desert for Sand Strangler, and that's one of the more low-impact ones on your deck.
Yeah, that's one of the best options. Yeah, he's just got to take it here.
He's got to count his playables. You know, that's, I think, something he's looking at, but I think getting the second Desert is so critical.
Yeah, I think if you count the crash throughs, he's going to be all right. And he did wheel both the Nimbleblade Kenra and the Sun-Scorched Desert, so it's a question of, does he want that 3rd Desert, even though it's colorless, or is he just going to get the Kenra? And he's just going to take the Kenra. This is the deck for it. Look, you know, Nimbleblade Kenra hasn't won the hearts of too many people from Amonkhet, but it's actually okay in this deck. And he can pick up a Minotaur Sure Shot if he'd like here. This is not as good of a deck for Bloodlust Insider.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect Paulo to play the Insider, whereas the Sure Shot is fine.
Yeah, it's a fine card. And then this is his last shot at a desert.
Limits of Solidarity is kind of nice in this deck. He doesn't have a way to sacrifice a creature, but he's playing a deck with a bunch of Riddle Forms. He can just take his opponent's creatures and just attack for a bunch of damage.
Totally.
It also has cycling. Puts,
Yes.
you know, a spell in the graveyard for Enigma Drake or Warfire Javelin.
Yeah, remember when I said you're kind of thinking in terms of getting in for big chunks of damage? Well, that's one. Manticore the Gauntlet, also a nice pickup very late for him in the following pack. And I think things did end up coming together for Paulo here in a pretty reasonable way. Though, yeah, you know, the first and third packs were a little rough for him. You know, the third pack being a little bit low power level until the middle part, and then he picked up some decent stuff. And the first one, he was just kind of all over the map until he got settled in.
I think that given where Paulo's deck was at the end of each pack, this was okay. This was... It certainly could have gone worse. He did pick up a couple payoffs. He has 2 Riddle Forms. He has the Warfire Javelinier. He's got Enigma Drake.
Yeah, those are the cards that his deck is going to revolve around, those uncommons that are so powerful. And he's going to have to try to find a way to kind of make the rest of the cards work for him, you know, given that, again, the power level isn't super high. Like, he doesn't have a Glory Bringer, right? He doesn't have some big bomb to finish off with.
Yeah, if he had one like magma spray over one of those talk crop skirmishers, then I think that he would be in a lot better shape.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, that's going to do it for our first draft, the live draft, but we've also got a recorded draft coming up for you. But first, these messages.
Okay, so we've seen every pick of every pack of one of our 8-0 drafters. That's Paulo Vitor Damo da Rosa of Brazil. Our other 8-0 drafter is Seth Manfield. There are only 2 of them, and that means they went to bed last night knowing that they would play each other in round 9. Well, we knew that too, which means that right now you get to see every pick of every pack of Seth Manfield.